I think we can start now. Again, hello everyone. Today we will learn the best practices in financial modeling, and we will create a simple example calculation in Investor Excel software. We will learn some useful features, and for those who are not familiar with this software, I'll give a quick introduction. It will literally take a few minutes. So then let's begin. I'll begin with a quick introduction of our company. The company who developed Investor Excel is Data Partner. It has been established in 1987 in Finland. So we have been operating on the market for over 30 years. We are Microsoft Gold certified partner. We have over 1,750 customers in 56 countries and over 30 business partners internationally. And our main product is Investor Excel. We also offer trainings and consulting services. Here, this slide represents our customers by industry. So as you can see, Investor Excel is industry-independent software. So we have customers from electricity and heating sector, from chemicals, food and beverage, oil and gas, healthcare, education, and other industries. And here you can see some familiar brands. These are our customers. For example, we have Daimler, producer of Mercedes-Benz, Neste, Emirates National Oil Company, Gazum, Helen, lots of electricity companies in general, Fazer, Paulik, Snellman, Kemira, Kramo, and many, many others. Also, Investor Excel has been used extensively in education, in universities. We have over 26 universities, leading universities who use Investor Excel for teaching. Teachers and students highly value Investor Excel, and the thing is that if you don't have any experience in financial modeling or capital budgeting, it's really easy to understand the topic with the help of Investor Excel. Now let's talk about Investor Excel functionality. With Investor Excel, you can do capital budgeting, you can do business planning, perform valuations, mergers and acquisitions. You can do cost-benefit analysis, life cycle costing. You can do cash flow modeling, financial modeling. If you need to, you can do impairment testing. There is a powerful financing module in Investor Excel Enterprise Edition. You can run post-implementation reviews, and you can perform product calculations. You can calculate project economics. I'll skip this slide and let's go to the next one. Over 30 years, we collected lots of valuable feedback from our customers, and we realized that there is a situation where customers, companies have inside developed Excel models, and they have lots of problems with them. First of all, in-house developed Excel models, they are not standardized. They have lots of errors. PwC conducted research, and they found out that over 90% of all Excel in-house developed models have some mistakes. Those errors can be, some of them can be minor, but some of them can lead to wrong decisions and money losses. Also, there is bad comparability because all in-house developed models, they're non-standardized, and it's really difficult to compare, for example, two scenarios or two projects. There is little or no transparency, so you basically don't know where numbers come from, and it's people dependent. Usually one financial guru, Excel guru, develop one project, one Excel template, and then other people just, other colleagues don't know how to use it. Investor Excel solves all those problems. So it provides standardized calculations. It saves time. It provides transparent calculations, comparable results. It's easy and safe to use. It has best practice and it provides flexibility and gives you flexibility to model any type of business because it's still same familiar Excel spreadsheets. And of course, international account standards are incorporated. And now it's time to actually do our financial modeling. And for our example calculation, I selected wind power plant. This is the easiest project to understand. So let's imagine that we want to build a wind power plant with 6 turbines. We have some estimations about our costs and our incomes, and we want to understand how feasible this project is, how profitable this project is going to be. So let me switch to Invest for Excel software. It's right here. So here is the main screen of Invest for Excel. And here, let's see, it looks like Excel spreadsheets, but it actually offers much, much more. As you can see, the standard ribbon menu of Excel has been replaced with Invest for Excel ribbon menu, and you can see all the functions of Invest for Excel. But if you need to use Excel functions, you use this Excel menus button. If I press it, I have an access to Excel ribbon menu functions. But for now, let me go back to Invest menu. And let's take a look at another interesting things here. For example, language option. Invest for Excel is available in 7 different languages. So let's say you can create your calculation file in Finnish, and then with a click of a button, you can translate it to English and send to your colleagues or investors. So it's very nice. And also there is user manual. We are quite proud of this manual. It has 300 pages, but you don't have to read all of them. It works like this. So if you are not sure about some function, you use search function, and you can just type what you're looking for. For example, break-even. If I press break-even, here I can read just a paragraph about cell break-even, and I can understand how it works. And also we have some nice screenshots, so it's easy to understand. I think it's time to start modeling our example calculation, and I'll start with creating a new file. Here is the button. I pressed new calculation file, and Invest for Excel asks me what kind of calculation file I would like to create. I'll go with the first option. Meanwhile, Invest for Excel prepares the special layout. And it asks me to save my file. So I will give the descriptive name. It's wind power plant and 6 turbines. I will save it on my desktop. Now, the beauty of this program is that you don't have to know how it works. You can just follow basic steps. The program actually guides you step by step, and you will never get lost in the process. You will always get to the final step, and you will get your professional result for sure. So the next thing that Invest for Excel asks me to do is to define calculation term. Here I can just enter years, number of years, but if I want to be more detailed, more specific, I can go and define my periodization. So if I press detailed periodization, I can define when my project begins. So let's do that now. How many calculation phases I want to have. Let's say that I want to have 2 calculation phases because it takes some time for me to build this power plant. Let's say that it will take 6 months to build my power plant. and 15 years for operation. And at any point, if I want to change anything, I can press this button with 3 dots, option button, and I can change, edit some things. For example, I want to include descriptions. So my first phase is going to be named as building phase, building or construction. Construction phase, and the next one is going to be called operation phase. It's 15 years. And let's say that our first phase will be built on semi-annual basis and our operation phase on annual basis. I will show later what's the difference. So in total, my calculation term is 15 years, 6 months. I also can mention some other things like residual value. I can include historical periods, but our calculation example is very simple, so I will keep it simple for now. I'll just press OK. The next thing that Invest for Excel that we need to do in this first table is to name our project. Let's give it a name. Wind power plant, 6 turbines. And if you noticed, we have 2 different types of cells. So we have gray cells and we have white cells. Gray cells are editable, so I can enter information here. White cells are protected. So if I want to enter anything in white cell, Invest for Excel notifies me that there is a possible mistake. So I'll just press OK. So it's done on purpose to eliminate unnecessary errors. And so, yeah, I can go and fill in the rest of the information. For example, I need to define units. I need to define my currency. Let's say that it's in euros. And now I need to enter my discount rate. If I know my discount rate, I will just type it here, but let's see other options. I press this option button. If I don't know my discount rate, I can use weighted average cost of capital. If I press this button, we have another dialog menu where we can easily calculate my WACC. So I can enter cost of debt, tax rate, proportion of debt to total capital, equity to total capital, and required return on equity. And when my WACC is calculated, it will be shown here, and I can use WACC as discount factor. And here I have formula description and also usage hints. So for now, let's cancel it. And let's see what other options we have. So we can use fixed discount rate, variable discount rate, and also we can use mid-year discounting. But for now, let's say that we already have a discount rate, which is 2.75%. And the last thing that we have to enter here is income tax. So let's say it's 20%. Now we are done and we can move to the next step. And to do so, we can use this index finger button. So when I press index finger button, I'll go to the next table, which is contact information. And here we can enter contact info and some comments about our calculation file. So sometimes it's quite handy if you need to forward it to your colleague, so a colleague can quickly read your comments. So let's go to the next step. And next step is our investment table. Here we describe our investment items based on their payment schedule. So the first row, the first investment account, has been named automatically, but we can, because it's a gray cell, we can easily edit it. So what we need to have in order for our project, first of all, we need to buy our turbines. Let's say that in the beginning we will pay 600 euros And then at the end of our construction phase, we will pay 2.4 million. Now a little bit more about structure of our table. So here we have 6 months, it's our construction phase, if you remember. And then we have 15 columns, 15 periods of our production phase. We have residual column, and we have so-called zero column. So when our now we have to describe our depreciation. If we know our depreciation, we just can put percentage here, but let's be more specific. Let's press this detailed button with options, and let's define when our depreciation begins. Let's begin it with our production in 2021. We can choose depreciation method, straight line. We can mention for how long we are going to depreciate our asset. Let's say it's just 15 years. And we also can allocate the specific item in our balance sheet. So machinery and equipment, that was correct. And of course, we can use some other options. For example, if I press more options, in some projects, we can have old investments. So it's quite easy to do. But let's keep it simple. Let's press OK, and let's see what happens. Yeah, so we see here that our depreciation has been calculated, and at the end, our residual value is 0. This number also can be rewritten if needed. If we, for example, believe that we can sell afterwards, after 15 years, these turbines. Now let's go to the next item. And next item is connection fee. We have to pay a certain amount for connection fee. And again, in the beginning, we will pay 22,000 euros. And then at the end of our construction phase, we will pay 88,000. And because it's investments, we use minus sign, but let's imagine that I, by mistake, forgot to put minus sign, and I'll just put a positive number. If I press enter, press enter, let's see what Investor Excel says us. So it actually warns us and asks what I meant with this positive by entering a positive number. Is it investment, or is it a realization, a sale? Is it a positive investment? So in my case, it was a mistake. So I just press investment, and now it will be changed. This amount will be changed to the negative number. So same logic. I will calculate my depreciation. I will mention for how long I want to depreciate it. When my depreciation begins, depreciation method, and balance sheet allocation. If I press OK, again, depreciation has been calculated. And the last investment item that we need to take care of, it's cost of establishing. And let's say that in the beginning we pay 100,000, and at the end of our construction phase we pay 400,000. Let me quickly define depreciation. Same for 15 years, starting from 2021, straight line, but here it's not machinery and equipment. Let's say that it's building and structures. Let's press OK. Now we are done with all our investments, and I want to make my table a bit more clear. So I press this structure button on the left corner, and I can see that I have up to 30 different investment accounts. So I can enter up to 30 different investments. But for example, if you think that you need to have more, you can group your investments based on their depreciation and use 30 rows. But now we have very simple example calculations, so I will hide those rows that I haven't been using, that I didn't use. I press OK. Now my investment table looks much smaller, and it is much easier to read. I'm done with investment table, and I'll go to the next step. I pressed index finger button, and Investor Excel brought me to the income statement. And here where all work is happening. So let's take a look at the structure. We have our income items. We have variable costs. We have gross margin, and we have fixed costs. And at the bottom, we have all the financial indicators. So let's start with entering our incomes. Let's say that we have only one source of income, and it's income from sales. In order to calculate my income from sales of electricity, I need to have some sub rows. So I pressed the button on the left, and I will create 4 sub rows of second level. We also can create sub rows of third level, up to 99 sub rows of each level, which means that in total we have over 10,000 rows to model our income statement. So, but for now I will just create 4 sub rows of second level. They have different color, and now as you can see, my first row, income from sales of electricity, is fixed now, and the result of this row depends on the sub rows. So here I mentioned all the variables, all the parameters that I need in order to calculate my income. So first of all, to calculate my income, I need to know how many turbines I have, and I have six of them. Now I need to distribute this number throughout the calculation. So I will have 6 turbines each year, and actually I will have them not in 2020, but in 2021. They will be built in 2021. So I select the cell and I press copy and distribute button. When I press this button, I will distribute without any changes. I will press distribute. So now we can see that our value has been distributed throughout the calculation. The next parameter that I need to know is capacity. How much of electricity can be produced in megawatt hours by each turbine and per year. So let's say that each turbine can produce 4,135 megawatt hours. And again, this number is constant. It's the same throughout the calculation. I'll select it and I will distribute without any changes. The next parameter that we have to define is utilization rate. We cannot, of course, expect that our turbines can work with 100%, with full capacity of 100%. So let's say that we expect only 90% of utilization rate. And here, because again, we're working, we can use all Excel functions. So I will just quickly format my number. And I will distribute this number throughout the calculation. And the last thing that we need to know is sales price. Sales price in euros per megawatt hours. Let's say that we expect our price to be 30 euros. Okay, I will just format it. And now it's important, I will distribute this number with a certain trend. I believe that my price will be increased over the years. So I select this number, I press copy and distribute function, and here I can define my annual change. Let's say that I expect 5% of positive change. And I want to put some annual change just to see it. When I press distribute, here I can see the trend, plus 5% growth. And yeah, it actually grows until the end of the calculation. So this is how you can easily reflect any trends. And of course, you can stop or change them at any point. Let's say that I believe that my price cannot go higher than 40 euros 20 cents. So I select this cell and I press copy and distribute function, and I just delete my trend to make it 0, the change. I press distribute, and now I can see that up to 2027, my price has been rising, and after that it's the same price until the end of the calculation term. That's not all. Now by default, all those rows, they've been added up. But this is not what I want. I want to multiply them. So each row has an operator on the left, and I need to select the right one. So if I multiply the number of turbines with the capacity, I will understand how much potentially each turbine can produce. When I multiply it with my utilization rate, I will understand how much in reality, how much energy in reality electricity I can produce. And then if I multiply that amount with the sales price, I can understand how much income I will generate. So now this is correct number, this much, around 600,000 euros I will have as an income. We're done with income. We don't have any other sources of income, and we can go to our costs. Next step is variable costs. Let's say that we don't have any variable costs, but we do have some fixed costs. Again, those rows are pre-named automatically, but you can edit it at any point. But for now, let's say that we have some other fixed costs, and let's put it. You need to remember that it's a negative number because it's our costs. Let's say that we have 90,000 euros. Again, I want to distribute this number, and I distribute it with a certain growth. So I put annual change, and I expect 5% of annual change, and press distribute. This is all. We reflected our income and our costs, and now the only thing that I want to do is to make it a bit, to make my table a bit smaller, because now it's difficult to understand and to read. So again, I go to the structure button on the left corner, and I can select empty rows, and I can select also 0 rows. If I press OK, my income statement will have only the most important information. So it has income, gross margin, other fixed costs, and some financial indicators that have been calculated automatically. For example, EBIT, EBITDA, net income for the period, RONA, etc. Each table in Investor Excel has this small camera button. So if I press it, exactly just this table, just this income statement will be copied in the clipboard, and you can paste it to your email or to report. So it's very handy. And also each table has different levels of detailization. So now it's 3rd level, but I can go like more detailed. or if I don't want to see, I want to see less information, I can go to the first level of periodization. So it will show just the important key financials. So it's very handy. Well, we're done with income statement. Let's go to the next step. And next step is working capital. And this is a very interesting table. And we know that many financial professionals try to avoid calculating change in working capital because it's too complex. But in Invest for Excel, it literally takes a few minutes to fill in this table and calculate net working capital. So there are two ways, and I will explain the easiest one. But first of all, let's take a look at the structure of this table. We have short-term assets, we have inventories, and we have current liabilities. And let's say that I will choose the easiest option, how to fill this table. I will use average term of payment in days. So let's say that we will receive our money from selling the electricity with 30 days delay in average. Let's distribute this number. So it means we are selling our energy and money will come with a 30 days delay. Let's say that we don't have anything for inventories, but for current liabilities, let's say that we have average term of payment 15 days in average, which means that we need to pay for our liabilities. For example, we need to pay to our suppliers, to our, let's say, employees, and we need to do it within 15 days in average. And here I can actually select, if I go to the option button, I can select rows that should be that I want to participate in the calculation and the formula. So we don't have any variable costs, but we do have some fixed costs. If you remember, we had other fixed costs. So if I press OK, now the right amount has been calculated. And again, this number will stay the same. So I select this number and I will distribute it. Yes, this is done. This is how we can see that change in working capital has been calculated. So we can proceed to the next step. Next step is cash flow statement, and here you don't have to do anything. We don't have to enter any information at all. This report has been generated automatically, and here we can just we can use it for our own analysis, and we can pay attention to such rows as cash flow from operations, free cash flow, cumulative discounted free cash flow, total cash flow, cumulative total cash flow. Let's go to the next step, and next step, balance sheet. Again, we don't have to enter any information here. This is a report that we use for our own analysis. We can expand some groups. Well, again, we have very simple calculation example. We don't have anything here, but you understand the functionality and abilities of this table. Let's go to the next step, and next step is key financial tables. This table is created for your own analysis. If for some reason you didn't find a special ratio and in the previous tables, and you want to have that specific ratio, you can calculate it here. The beauty of this table is that it has the same format as whole calculation file, so you can easily enter formulas, refer to different cells, so it's very nice. And let's say that I have some special ratio, webinar ratio. Let's say that I entered some kind of formula. Well, for now I just enter random number, and I will distribute this number. well, in the reality, you just enter formula and you calculate it here. But just for sake of this example, I'll show you how this ratio can be analyzed in the sensitivity analysis. Another recent feature that we added to Invest for Excel, which is available in the latest version, is extra financial ratios. So if I press this small button, I can choose different financial ratios. I think there are around 26 different ratios, like quick ratio, capital turnover, receivables turnover ratio, etc. So we classified them in 6 different groups: liquidity, turnover, profitability, business risks, financial risks, and stability. Well, let's just select all of them. We can also include category headers and also include formulas as cell comments. Let's see what happens. If I press OK, well, few seconds, and all my financial ratios will be calculated and added to this table. As you can see, we have all the ratios, and here's a fun thing. If we can actually read the formula, it's a nice feature. Well, we're done with key financials table, and let's go to the next step. The next step is the results screen. So here we can see the profitability, the all the information about our project. But again, this is a result screen, but this is only the middle of the work. It's we are halfway through, because here we just see how our project performs with initially entered information. So let's see what we have. We have name of the project, we have total present value, we have net present value. It's bigger than 0, which means that it's profitable. We have NPV as a monthly annuity, internal rate of return bigger than discount rate, which means it's profitable. Profitability index higher than 1, which means also that's profitable. Payback time in years, 7.5 years. RONA, discounted value added, and other information. And if you think that this is too long and you don't want to see some of the indicators here, you can use this structure button and you can modify it according to your needs. So let's say that I don't want to see modified internal rate of return on DCIVA. So just, or let's say I don't want to see also discounted value added and who created this file. So I'll just press OK, and my results screen, my profitability analysis table is much cleaner. So next step, we suggest to run sensitivity analysis. If I press next step, Invest for Excel brings me to the investment, to the sensitivity analysis tables, and we have several of them. We have few of them, but let's begin with the first one. The first one is called discount factor impacts on profitability. And here we analyze discount factor and how it affects net present value. So basically what we see here, our original assumption, our discount factor is 2.75. In this table, we want to see what will happen if our discount factor changes, if it has 10% or 20% negative change. How will it will affect the net present value, or if it has positive changes, 10% positive change or 20% positive change, how these changes will affect my NPV. And here we can see it graphically. So original assumption 2.75, 2.20, 2.48. So If my discount factor is lower, my net present value, the project generates higher net present value. And on the bottom, we can see other profitability indicators. So if I select the right period where I actually have numbers when my production starts in 2021, I have also impact of changes of discount factor on various other profitability indicators. And here, if you remember, we created our own webinar ratio. I can just select, press on drop-down menu and select my ratio. So here it is. And I can see how discount factor changes, how changes in discount factor affects my webinar ratio. And if you remember, it was just a random number. Discount factor is actually, it's not participating in the calculation of this ratio, so the number is the same. But here I can also take a look not only at net present value, but you can select other profitability indicators like profitability index, discounted value added, payback time. Let's take a look at payback time. So this is quite a powerful feature that all our customers love about Investor Excel. Okay, we are done with discount factors impact, and let's go to the next sensitivity analysis table. And next one is total investments impact on profitability. It's the same logic behind. We analyze how changes in total investment affect our profitability indicator, in this case, net present value. So original assumptions, our total investments is this much, and it generate this much of NPV. So if we have higher investments, it will generate higher NPV, lower investments generate higher NPV, and higher investments generate lower NPV. Yeah, this is correct. And again, we can see it graphically, and we can see other financial indicators. Actually, here we can select more profitability indicators. So as we have here, internal rate of return before tax, modified internal rate of return. Let's take a look at another one. At the next table, it's income's impact on profitability. Here we can see, analyze what happens if our income will grow or it will drop dramatically. Next is variable costs, cost impact on profitability. And if you remember, we didn't have any variable costs, so that's why it's the same. Let's go to the next one. Next one is fixed costs impact on profitability. Again, what if we need to pay more to our suppliers, or we need to pay more to our employees, or less, how it will affect profitability. Next step, this is an interesting table. It's variables impact on profitability. So here you can select almost any variable in your calculation file. So let's say that I want to analyze my sales price. So how changes in my sales price will affect profitability? In this case, net present value. So this is quite interesting, because you can look at specific parameter, specific variable in more detail. And we have, I think, 6 different tables like this, where you can analyze different variables of your choice. Yes. And now I would like to show you charts. If I go to analysis, I can create charts. It's very easy. You can create a chart manually. Or let's say I want to create a ready-made chart. We have, let's say that I want to create this cash flow development chart. So with a click of a button, I can see that the chart has been created. What we can see here, the green line is our cumulative discounted free cash flow. So basically here, where our project reaches break-even point. Yes. Let's go and create other chart that I like. Analysis chart, spider and tornado charts. These are so-called prioritization charts. Let's start with spider chart. So in this chart, we analyze three parameters: income, variable cost, and fixed cost. And we want to see how changes in these variables affect the profitability indicator, in this case, net present value. And from this chart, we can see that even a slightest change in income generates the biggest impact on our profitability indicator, and in this case, on NPV. Whether variable costs, we don't have any variable costs, but that's why it's parallel. But fixed costs, changes in fixed costs actually, well, do not result in such big difference in NPV. So in this case, it's very easy, straightforward that the changes in income generates the bigger impact. But imagine if you have, 20 different parameters. So from this chart, you can easily see what is the most important parameter in your case, where you should have your focus on. Let's go and create another chart, tornado one, just quickly. Analysis, profitability, impact. Okay. Let's see. Again, same logic. We'll analyze income, investments, fixed cost, and variable costs. These parameters, and plus 10 and minus 10 change. So we can see that minus 10% change in income, changes in general, changes in income bring the biggest impact on net present value. And we don't have variable costs, that's why we don't have a bar here. So from this chart, we can understand that, again, our focus should be mainly on our income. And if I go to this option button, I actually can add more or remove variables. I can rename my chart. I can define negative and positive change. So let's say that I want to have not 10%, but 20%. And I can also select the profitability indicator that I'm interested in. Maybe I'm not interested with in NPV, but I'm interested in, let's say, internal rate of return. So it's really easy to create charts and to edit them. Another interesting thing is just recently we added DuPont Analysis. With one click of button, I can create a DuPont Analysis where I analyze return on assets, and also I can select longer analysis where we analyze return on net assets and return on equity. So this is how it looks like. And again, I can use this camera button, copy this chart, this analysis, and enter in my report. There is also quite powerful tool, Monte Carlo simulation. Also, in a few seconds, you can create a Monte Carlo simulation. But I will not show that, but I'll show you another thing, break-even analysis. So if I go to results screen, I will check my net present value. Now let's go now to income statement. And in my income statement, I will apply a break-even. Not here, input, income statement. I will apply break-even function. So I select the cell with my price, and I select this break-even function button. Oops, not this one, but this one, break-even function. I press OK. And now it really literally took 2 seconds to find the cell break-even. What it tells us that with this sales price, 15, almost 16 euros, our project's NPV is going to be 0, which is still profitable. For us, it tells that we cannot go lower than this sales price, because otherwise, if we go lower, the project is going to be not profitable. This break-even function can be applied almost to any cell in your calculation, and it's very handy when you, for example, need to develop your pricing strategy, or you need to negotiate cost of your equipment with your suppliers. So it's a very handy feature. But let me undo break-even. I'll return to the original assumption of 30 euros per megawatt. Yes, it's now we have our original net present value. Now it's a good time to save my calculation file. I'll go to main menu. I will save it. And now I'll quickly show how to compare different scenarios, different projects. It's very easy to do in Investor Excel. For that, I will create a quickly new project based on my original assumption. So I will create a copy, save as. I will rename it. Let's say that I want to have a second project, wind power plant with 8 turbines. I will save it on my desktop. And I will do all the necessary changes in my calculation. So now I'm working in a new file, 8 turbines, and I will change all the necessary information. So first of all, I'll change the name to differentiate them, 8 turbines. The rest of the information will be the same here. And I'll go straight to the investment table. So my investments will be different. Let's say that in order to buy some extra turbines, I need to have this extra investment. Let's say it is another million. Another €1,000,000. I'll add quickly depreciation. 15 years, starting from 2021, straight line, machinery and equipment. Okay. And the next change that I need to do is in income statement. So now I don't have 6 turbines, but I have 8 turbines. Again, as you see, I change only one number and the whole calculation is changing. And of course, some extra investments will bear some extra costs. So let's say instead of 90,000, I need to pay, let's say 150,000. Now everything is done. My second project has been created. I don't have to do any other changes. Let's say that it stays the same. I'll save my project, and now I will use Investor Excel comparison table. So I'll go to the main menu of Investor Excel and I create a new comparison table. I select comparison table option. I don't have any comparison table open, but I create new one. And to save time, I will not save it. And I will fill this comparison table and it's really easy to do. I will open my first file. So I want to have both files open. So here I have my original, the first project that we created with you, and I have my second one. So when I go to my comparison table, I use this exclamation point mark, and in my first column, I fill the information from my first project, from the 6 turbine project. And in the second slot, I want to add information from my 8 turbines from my second project. So with one click, Investor Excel fills all the important information. The rest columns, we can compare up to 6 different projects, but now we are comparing only 2 of them, so I'll just close them. So what do we have here? We have, we can compare projects side by side, so we can easily understand what would be the most profitable decision, the most profitable project. So we can select the best one. So here we have project description, name of the project, nominal value of all investments. Here in the second project, it's we added one extra investment. Duration calculation term is this. It is same. Total present value, net present value. The second project generates bigger net present value. Internal rate of return is actually bigger in our first project. Profitability index is bigger in our first project. RONA is also bigger. So from this table, based on this table, we can decide which project is better. If our decision factor is net present value, so we should go with second one. But if we take into account other profitability indicators like IRR and profitability index, so first project is better. Also, we have other tabs. If we check other tabs like NPV, we can compare NPV visually, also IRR and payback of those 2 projects. So I think this is it for comparison, but also we have 3 minutes left. This is basically what I wanted to show, but I can quickly show you how to use goal-seek function. This is a handy function feature that Excel has. So I'll go to Excel menus. I'll switch to Excel menus, and I'll go to, let's say, data, what if analysis, and goal-seek. And here I want, let's say that I want to reach a certain IRR in my calculation. So I set cell internal rate of return, then I select the value. I want to have not 13.8 but 16% in IRR. And here I defined the changing cell, like by changing which cell this goal should be achieved. I'll go to calculation and I'll select my price. And let's go back, press OK. Yes, it took literally a second, and our IRR has been changed. So let's see, it almost reached 16% as we wanted. So in order to reach 16% in IRR, we need to have a bit slightly bigger sales price. So 33, our price should be 33.3 euros. So this is quite handy feature, but let's go back, change it to original. And let's take a look at other functions that we have. This is a main screen of Investor Excel. And here we also have marginal effect. I'll quickly show you. So you can create a marginal calculation where you analyze the profitability, just the profitability of extra investment. So you create two files, and before the investment situation, before the investment and situation that includes that extra investment, and new file will be created based on that, and it will reflect just the profitability of that extra investment. So it's interesting feature. Also, you can do consolidation, impairment test verification, and you can easily create in one-click investment proposal. But for this webinar, I think we covered lots of functions, and I'm happy that we had enough time to do that. I will create a video of our webinar, and I will send all the calculation files as PDF files to you. So thank you very much for joining me this webinar. I hope that was very helpful. Thank you very much, and bye.